Hello, everybody. Hello. My name is Paul Pettis. I'm the Executive Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council. I'd like to thank everybody coming out for our Border Patrol convention. I'd like to congratulate all of the National Border Patrol Council Executive Committee that got recently re-elected, and I'd like to thank all the local presidents for coming out as well. All your families. If you're a family member, could you guys please stand so we can give you a round of applause? Because without the family members, we can't do this. If you guys could stand, please. Well, we've got a very special guest, and it's not Brandon Judd, but it's my honor to introduce our president for the next term, Brandon Judd.
It's good to be with you. Thanks for coming out. Look, Governor Abbott, we have got people from around the entire nation. We've got people here from Florida. We've got people here from New York. We've got people from Montana. We've got people from the state of Washington. And, of course, we've got everywhere from the southwest border, San Diego, Arizona, New Mexico, and, of course, Texas. The vast majority are from, hey, look, I heard great state of Texas. I'm going to stick with the great state of Arizona. But except unfortunately, we don't have Abbott in Arizona. That's the problem with Arizona right now. We're really grateful that the governor was able to come out and speak with you today. We support the governor greatly, but the reason why we support the governor is because he supports you. He supports the mission of the Border Patrol. He recognizes and understands the great job that each one of you do, and that's why he's here to speak with you tonight. And for that, we're grateful. It's funny, a couple months ago, he had us out at the governor's mansion, and I had no idea that he could play baseball. He struck his chief of staff out on, I think, 3 times. Now, I won't tell you I hit 2 home runs, but we won't hold that against the governor. often. But we also played Manny. Where's Manny? Manny, stand up. Paul, stand up. We also played cornhole. I was on the governor's team. And the governor and I beat Manny and Paul. We took Manny and Paul down. Hey, really, isn't that right, Governor? See, there we go. There we go. But we are really, really grateful. We're grateful for all the work that he does. We're grateful that he's willing to do the job that President Biden's supposed to be doing. So, Governor, thank you. And with that, I'd like to introduce the Governor of the great state of Texas, Governor Greg Abbott.
Well, thank you, Brandon. While I have you here, let's see, how many, by a show of hands, how many of you all are from Texas? Lord Almighty. So listen, y'all know what I know, and that is there's only two kinds of people who are out there. There are Texans and people who wish they were Texans. And so I thought, well, someone who really does wish he was a Texan, he kind of acts like he's a Texan. He likes to brag about beating people at cornhole. And if you're a bragger, you're a Texan. And so I wanted to use one of the powers I have to bestow the biggest honor that I can bestow, and that is my power to make Brandon Judd an honorary Texan. Hold on, and there's more, and a flag of Texas flown over our great capital. Thank you. So I know one reason why the family members are so happy. Coming to the Galleria makes for a whole lot nicer trip, right? So I want to welcome everybody here. If you're from Texas or not from Texas, I want to welcome you here. I want to kind of go back and tell the rest of the story that Brandon was talking about. So, I mean, think about just this whole notion for a second. Here we are, we have the president of the Border Patrol Council and governor of Texas, and we have far more than just a working relationship. We have a friendship. We hang out together, and we ate barbecue, played some cornhole, won some cornhole, played some baseball. So for those who haven't seen it, the governor's mansion sits on about 2 acres. And it was a beautiful day, a fun time. And then out in the front, to hit the ball over the fence was something else. And we had my then chief of staff, Louis Sines, was pitching to Brandon. And Brandon hit a home run. And Louis Sines is no longer with us. I had to terminate him. It's a terminating offense to let Brandon hit a home run off of you. And so I kicked Luis off the mound, and I took the mound. And my first pitch, I hit Brandon. There you go, you like that. That's how you get applause out of this crowd. I hit Brandon. I just want to see if he could take a pitch, and then he hit a home run off of me. But I was not afraid, because I knew the only way I could lose my job would be to Beto O'Rourke. I knew the people of Texas know that I can throw a ball better than Beto O'Rourke can throw a ball. So on a more serious note, I did want to be here. As we were chit-chatting at our table, there were other options tonight. But to me, there was no greater priority tonight than having an opportunity to get to visit with y'all for a few moments. First and foremost, to say thank you. Thank you for your service. Candidly, as I have over my time, both as governor and before that as attorney general, as I have seen our Border Patrol operate, they don't hear it enough. They don't receive the gratitude enough for the magnitude and the danger of their service. But just as important as that is to express gratitude to the family members of those who serve. We know it's an enormous challenge. It's an enormous sacrifice. And so for all who are Border Patrol agents and all who are family members of Border Patrol agents, just know that literally when I'm speaking up here right now, I'm speaking for millions of Texans who I hear from all the time, who are so grateful for what you do on a daily basis. On the front line of protecting and securing our border. An area, by the way, that the current President of the United States treats like some frontier outpost, completely ignoring the growing dangers that are surfacing on a daily basis on our border. As Texans know, in fact, if you're in the Border Patrol, you know, Texas has the largest border of any state in the United States, which makes it even more challenging to be able to patrol and to protect. And what you all are doing is viewed by Texans as absolutely essential for the safety and security of our state, but also one thing Texans believe in, and that is our sovereignty as a country. And you're helping to protect that sovereignty from it being overrun. So we want to thank you, but double down on that thank you, in the sense that you're having to do it in the face of a president who's being pitiful in his approach to enforcing the immigration laws that are already on the books. Some people may remember that I met the president on the tarmac of the airport out in El Paso, and I handed him a note. It was kind of interesting. I'm going to tell you the backstory about all of that. So he was coming to El Paso because he was on his way to Mexico. And by that time in his presidency, he still had not yet been to the border, a border where he caused a crisis. And he knew that if he went to Mexico without stopping at the border, he was going to be condemned horrifically if he didn't just stop at the border. And he did so. And we knew days in advance he was going to do that. But they did not bother to call me or my office and extend an invitation like presidents often do to meet the president or visit with the president or do something with the president until the evening before his visit. And the contact was to a lower level employee in her office in Washington, D.C., thinking, well, perhaps it really will not get to the governor, because I think in reality the president really didn't want to see the governor of the state of Texas. So I showed up and I handed him a note, which, by the way, was not my first communication with him. It was actually the 8th letter that I had sent to the president about the border. And even to that 8th letter, to none of the letters that I have given him has he deigned to even respond to it. But in that letter, I provided a list of 5 laws that currently exist that do not require any action by Congress, doesn't require anybody to do anything other than the President of the United States enforcing the laws that already exist. And I pointed that out to him. And he still is refusing to enforce United States laws. But maybe the only thing that could be worse than that is, in my opinion, how bad he disrespects you and your service. Look at the way that he treats you. Look at the way that he almost dismisses you and disregards you. Think of those who were doing their duty of what they were trained to do to try to secure the border, trying to stop people who were coming across. I think it was during the time when we had the massive inflow of Haitians coming across the border, and Border Patrol agents were accused of whipping people who were crossing the border. It was studied top, side, and bottom. You all know what I'm saying? There was no wrongdoing found whatsoever by those Border Patrol agents. Every entity that had a responsibility to clear them did clear them. But as I understand it, and tell me if I'm wrong, today, as of today, President Biden still has not said that these Border Patrol agents did nothing wrong. Is that correct? That is disgusting. It's disgusting they would even be accused of doing anything wrong. But if you accuse somebody of something wrongfully, you should apologize and say, I was wrong, and say, you're cleared. That's what the President of the United States thinks about the men and women who serve this country on the border. I just want you to know that regardless of what state you're from, tonight you're in a state that appreciates who you are, what you do. And as long as you are in Texas, you have a governor who has your back. The president's disregard of the border is even more shocking when you consider the facts of what's going on. Emboldened cartels that are killing Americans now. We talked about it at our table. It's shocking. Americans who just crossed the border are now killed with impunity by the cartels. And we see increased cartel-related gang activity here in Texas. Those who are assisting the cartels in the smuggling operations, or whether it be humans or drugs or other different types of crimes, is on a dramatic rise. And Biden is doing nothing about it. But perhaps most shocking of all is the seeming indifference to the deadly fentanyl coming across our border. Now, I know that fentanyl's been around for a while, but I got to be honest with you, I don't recall it being all that big of a problem just a few years ago. But now it is pouring across the border. And y'all know the numbers. Y'all know what you've done. And I'll tell you what we've done. Y'all being the Border Patrol, you have seized far more than enough fentanyl to kill every American. We've done that also through our Department of Public Safety and National Guard. Just Texas officials alone have seized enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in the entire country. And just a couple of months ago, the president had his State of the Union address, and he seemingly quickly glossed over the issue of fentanyl. And if you were watching it, you'll remember that as soon as he brought up fentanyl and said something needed to be done about it, you heard Republicans in the Congress who started shouting at the president, close the border. You could hear it in unison on your TV set. But not once did the president even acknowledge that the fentanyl that's a problem that's killing Americans, that is now the leading cause of death in the United States of people between 18 and 45. The president would not even acknowledge that fentanyl is coming across our border. If he wanted to stop the lives being lost, he could do something about it by stopping the fentanyl from ever crossing the border in the first place. And you would do that by more strongly empowering our Border Patrol agents and providing more Border Patrol agents to do their job. We see death also in the deadly chases that take place. Y'all are involved in some of them. Texas Department of Public Safety and local law enforcement are involved in others. It's horrendous to see some of my fellow Texans lose their lives because of the reckless criminals driving the getaway cars who could care less about anybody they may run over. Whether they've T-boned somebody or run over innocent pedestrians, whatever the case may be. It's outrageous. And again, it could stop if the president would simply enforce the laws already on the books. And the numbers are outrageous. I'm telling you what you know. A record number of people crossed the border last year illegally than ever in the history of our country. More than double or triple, or maybe even quadruple of what it was just 4 years ago. It's all because of these open border policies. But when you think about the duties of a president of the United States, there's something that often comes to mind of what the president is. The president is the commander-in-chief. And one of the president's chief jobs in that duty is to ensure to protect the country from national threats. And even here on our border is being exposed as a threat to us nationally. And you know this by the record number of people on the terrorist watch list who have been apprehended who came across the border illegally. It's skyrocketing, coming from extraordinarily dangerous countries. And you also know what I know, and that is those are the ones that were caught. If you're on the terrorist watch list, you're paying a whole lot more money to not be caught. Who do we have in our country from these terrorist-based nations who were not caught? And what are their intentions? What are they doing? No one knows, and Biden is not saying anything about it. There needs to be a sense of urgency to stop the danger that's being posed to our country. Well, as Brandon was talking, Texas is stepping up, doing more than any state has ever done to try to fill that gap. In Texas, we have a legislative session every other year, and it's only an odd number of years. We meet for 140 days every 2 years. We're trying to change that to meet for 2 days every 140 years. Not everyone here is a math major, but call on after a while. There you go. But the point is, in the session we had 2 years ago, in the interim, we provided $4.5 billion for Texas to secure our border. And in the budget that we're about to pass, I'm about to sign, we're going to provide another $4.5 billion. We're going to provide in a 2-year time period $9 billion for Texas as a state to secure the border. On the math I've seen, that rivals what the United States of America is spending to secure the border. And we're using that money in part to make investments in the Texas Department of Public Safety. And their chief goal is to fill the gap that is caused by Border Patrol agents having to process the paperwork of these people that Joe Biden is allowing in. Y'all know exactly what's going on. The cartels will flood the zone, you'll get overwhelmed in apprehending people, and that's when the cartels are able to move across the goods and the people that are high-valued assets. That's where DPS has to step in and fill the gap, and that's where they go in and make arrests. And they've arrested more than 25,000 very dangerous criminals, some of whom were wanted for murder. No telling what would happen if we did not have the Texas Department of Public Safety there trying to fill the gaps while you're doing the duty that you have been assigned to do. And we have the National Guard. They've had different roles, but I think you've seen quite prolifically, we have some people from the El Paso sector who have seen this the most, but surely all of you know when we had that line of people coming across the border at the time, in a 24-hour period, the National Guard was able to stand up external fencing of concertina wire. And now we have a concertina wall that has stopped that flow in El Paso. And they're expanding that to other areas across the border. And Texas is the only state ever in the history of the country, from our beginning as a country until today, to build our own border wall. And as you know, the United States, from the beginning of the Biden administration, they've had a border czar. A border czar who actually has not been to the border, other than a meeting a few miles away from the border in El Paso. And I figured, you know what? It's about time for Texas to have a border czar to lead our efforts of securing our border. And the place I looked to find the border czar was among you, a Border Patrol agent, Mike Banks, who in his first day in office as the border czar of Texas spent far more time on the border than Kamala Harris has in her entirety as the border czar of the United States of America. So we are trying to step up and do whatever a state can do, because I believe that you all are not being provided the assets and resources and tools and capabilities that you deserve to have. And you're being forced to do a job that you should not have to be doing because of laws not being enforced. So Texas is going to continue to collaborate with you and work with you to shoulder the responsibility and task with you as we, as people of this country, as a nation, work together to try to stem this illegal flow coming across the border. And along those lines, let me just close with this, because I broach a subject that often arises when people meet me for the first time. Most Texans, not even all Texans, know what I'm about to tell you, but many people from outside the state, they may see me on some TV news show or whatever, and they have no idea that the governor of Texas is actually in a wheelchair. Let me tell you what happened, and then the meaning of it and how it's connected to you. When I was 26 years old, I was living here in Houston. And that particular day, when I was 26, I was out jogging, something I do almost every day. And on this day, when I was out jogging, a massive oak tree crashed down and fell on me, an oak tree that was 2 or 3 times higher than the ceiling in this room. And it crashed down onto my back, fracturing my vertebrae and my spinal cord, leaving me forever paralyzed, never able to walk again. Somebody in a situation like that could feel helpless, angry, give up, quit, stay in a bed, depend upon the government, whatever. That is a complete alteration of a person's life. But I decided, you know what? I will not let this challenge define who I am. Instead, I would use my life in a way that I would respond to this challenge in ways that beat it. We're defined by how we respond to our challenges. And for me, it was after that accident that I went on to become the longest serving Attorney General and now the governor of the great state of Texas. How it applies to you is this. We face an enormous challenge. Americans face an enormous challenge in securing our border. We could give up and we could quit. We could do nothing about it. We could maybe rely upon some other government to do something about it. Feel helpless. Or we could refuse to allow the United States of America to be defined by the challenges that we face at our border. And we can define the future of America by the way that we respond to that challenge. And I wanted to be here tonight to say thank you to those who are embracing that challenge, who are stepping up, stepping into the breach, and helping America respond the way that Americans do. You represent the very best of the United States of America, and I applaud you for your service. Thank you. God bless you all. God bless Texas, and God bless the United States of America.
So we're gonna start a photo line. If you want to take a photo with the governor, come on this side of the stage, and then you'll exit down the ramp, please.
¿Tienes que dar el teléfono? No, sure, bro.